Welcome back, everybody. Ready for another deep dive?
Absolutely. Always
Uh-huh.
ready to jump into a new story.
All right, well, this time we're going deep into the life of Miguel Ángel Félix Gallardo.
Oh, Felix Gallardo, the Godfather.
Yeah, the godfather of the Mexican drug trade.
This one's going to be good. I can already tell.
Yeah, we're going to trace his journey, starting from his early days.
See, that's what I love about these deep dives. You
Mhm.
never know where they're going to start.
Right.
Like, what kind of kid was this guy?
Exactly. So from his early days all the way to, the top.
Head of the Guadalajara Cartel.
Yeah, how he builds the Guadalajara Cartel, how he gets to be so powerful.
The violence, the intrigue.
Oh, yeah. And then, of course, that infamous murder of DEA agent Kiki Camarena.
That's the one that brings it all down.
Yeah, it brings the whole operation crashing down.
Makes everything crashing down.
So get ready. Intrigue, violence.
And I bet
Oh, I bet there's a twist or two in here
there's always a twist.
that you didn't see coming. All right, so let's get started. Let's unpack Felix Gallardo's early life. He was born in 1946.
Okay.
And, a lot of times when we talk about drug lords, they kind of come from poverty.
Yeah, you think rags to riches, right?
Right, rags to riches. But Felix Gallardo had a pretty comfortable childhood, actually.
Oh, interesting.
Grew up on a ranch.
A ranch.
Yeah, in Culiacan,
Yeah.
Sinaloa, Mexico.
All right, so not exactly the slums.
No, not exactly the slums.
Interesting.
Graduated high school.
All right.
Even went on to study business. I mean, that's not exactly like the typical, uh,
Kingpin origin story.
yeah, kingpin origin
You
story.
think they'd be, I don't know, out on the streets or something?
Yeah.
But he's getting an education.
Yeah.
Huh.
So almost like he's, building a cover story right from the beginning.
Oh, yeah, maybe. Legitimate businessman.
Yeah. But the real turning point comes when he gets a job
Oh, here we go.
with the Mexican Federal Judicial Police.
Wow.
Talk about
Talk about learning the ropes.
learning the ropes.
Getting a front row seat to corruption.
Yeah, front row seat.
And the mechanics of power, right?
Yeah, how it all works.
Wow.
So he's learning the ins and outs of the very system that he's eventually going to exploit.
That's fascinating.
Right.
It's like he's studying the enemy before he goes to war.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And through this job, he makes a connection.
Here we go.
That's going to be really crucial to his rise.
Okay, let's hear it.
Leopoldo Sanchez Celis.
Leopoldo Sanchez Celis,
He's the governor of Sinaloa.
the governor.
Felix Gallardo becomes his bodyguard.
Bodyguard to the governor.
But it's much more than just a job, right?
Oh, I bet. I bet it's all about the connections.
It's about those connections.
Getting close to the inner circle, the people
Yeah.
who pull the strings.
Sanchez Celis even makes him the godfather to his son Rodolfo.
Oh, wow. So it's family now. It's not just business.
Right.
That's a whole other level.
So you see that web of influence starting to take shape.
Yeah, I see it. I see it.
And this web is about to get a lot bigger.
Okay.
Because when Felix Gallardo's predecessor
Oh, there's always a predecessor.
in the drug trade,
Right.
a guy named Avile,
Avile.
he dies in a police shootout.
Oh, so a vacancy opens up.
Rocket attack.
Felix Gallardo sees his opportunity.
I bet he did.
And he grabs it.
Yeah.
Control of all the trafficking routes shifts to Felix Gallardo.
Okay.
And that is when the Guadalajara Cartel really begins to solidify its power.
So it's his time now. He's the king.
He's the king.
But I bet he's not satisfied with just, Sinaloa.
No,
Yeah.
not at all. He
But-
wants more. Right.
He wants to connect with the big leagues.
The big leagues.
And the early 1980s
The 80 guy.
kind of provides the perfect opening.
Okay, what happens?
The U.S. cracks down
Oh.
on drug trafficking in Florida.
Oh, Florida. That was a major hub.
Huge hub, yeah.
Yeah.
Cuts off the Colombian cartels.
The Colombia.
The main route
They need to get their product north.
for smuggling cocaine.
And if Florida's shut down,
They need a new pathway.
they got to find a new way.
And Felix Gallardo is ready to provide it.
Oh, I bet he was. The Godfather.
Mexico,
Makes sense.
with that long shared border with the U.S., becomes the solution.
Oh, yeah, of course. It's right there.
Right there. And all of a sudden,
Felix Gallardo's in the middle of everything.
he's at the center of
Uh-huh.
a massive international operation.
He's not just a local player anymore. He's gone global.
No, this is huge.
This is huge.
And it's not just about moving product at this point. It's
Yeah.
about forming alliances
Alliances.
with the most powerful players in the game.
Right. You got to have friends in this business.
Uh-huh.
Or at least people you can trust, I guess. For a while.
Right.
Interesting.
So that's where Juan Mata Ballesteros comes in.
Juan Mata Ballesteros.
He's the key link
Okay.
between Felix Gallardo
All right.
and the Colombian Cali cartel.
Oh, the Cali.
One of the most
ruthless, ruthless.
sophisticated
It's a sophisticated organization.
in a world.
In the world.
Wow. I mean, you're talking about like the top tier of the drug trade.
Right.
They're not messing around.
No.
So Felix Gallardo's got a seat at the table with them now.
He's in.
He's in.
And just imagine the kind of, the wealth, the influence.
Oh, the money must have been flowing.
Generated by this partnership.
Yeah, yeah.
We're not talking about small-time deals here.
No, this is big time.
Estimates suggest that the Guadalajara Cartel is pulling in $5 billion a year.
$5 billion at this point.
A year.
Largely thanks to that 50% cut.
50%.
Of the cocaine itself.
Of the cocaine itself.
Yeah, wow.
They're
not just moving it.
They got a near monopoly.
You're getting a taste.
On the Mexican drug trade.
A big taste.
Felix Gallardo's at the top.
Godfather.
But all that success
There's always
comes with a dangerous side effect.
Oh, yeah. What's the catch?
They get the attention of the DEA. They know something big is happening. Right. And they send Agent Kiki Camarena to Guadalajara in 1980.
To figure out what's going on.
To find out what's going on.
All right, so the DEA is on the case.
Camarena was good.
Oh, yeah.
He starts uncovering the cartel's operations, like piece by piece.
Okay, so he's getting results.
And his early successes
They're not going to like that.
send shockwaves through their network.
Yeah, nobody likes a snitch.
There was the bust of those marijuana plantations in Zacatecas.
Okay.
But then comes the raid that really shakes them. Rancho Buffalo.
Rancho Buffalo, what's that?
Think about this. A marijuana plantation worth an estimated $8 billion.
$8 billion.
That's the kind of operation Camarena's taking down.
That's gotta hurt.
And it wasn't just about the drugs themselves.
Okay.
What really worried Felix Gallardo
What worried him?
was that Camarena was exposing
Oh, no.
the deep corruption that allowed the cartel to thrive.
The police, politicians, military officials.
Wow, it goes all the way to the top.
Camarena was uncovering a web of complicity
That's how they operate.
that stretched to the highest levels of Mexican society.
That's how they get away with it.
He was getting too close to the truth.
He was getting too close.
And Felix Gallardo knew it.
Oh, yeah. He knew it. They can't let that stand.
So when Camarena and his pilot are kidnapped
That's kidnapped.
outside the U.S. consulate in Guadalajara
Wow.
on February 7, 1985,
Bold move. Right outside the consulate.
sends a clear message.
Oh, yeah.
No one is untouchable.
Wow. This is serious.
And what happens next?
Don't tell me. Don't tell me.
Is the stuff of nightmares?
Oh, this is going to be bad, isn't it?
Camarena and his pilot are taken to a house
Okay.
owned by Rafael Caro Quintero.
Rafael Caro Quintero.
Yeah.
One of Felix Gallardo's guys.
One of his closest associates.
Yeah.
And tortured for 30 hours.
30 hours. Oh, my God.
They drilled into Camarena's skull, keeping him alive with adrenaline.
Oh, God. To prolong the suffering.
To prolong his suffering.
This is brutal. This is a message.
It was a brutal...
Calculated act of revenge.
Yeah. And it marked a turning point in the story of the Guadalajara Cartel.
How so?
Because this time,
Right.
Felix Gallardo couldn't just pay off the right people.
Not this time.
Or rely on his connections.
This is too big.
The murder of a DEA agent
Yeah, this is an international incident.
was an international incident,
They can't sweep this under the rug.
and the U.S. wasn't going to let it slide.
No way.
The DEA launched Operation Leyenda,
Operation Leyenda.
one of their most extensive investigations ever.
They're bringing out the big guns.
And the pressure on Mexico to act
They had to do something.
was immense.
Yeah, the U.S. is not going to let this go.
Cracks were starting to show in Felix Gallardo's empire.
The empire's crumbling.
He goes into hiding.
He's got to disappear.
He's trying to keep control from the shadows.
But can't.
And the net is closing in.
They're going to find him.
And as we'll see in the next part of our deep dive, even the most powerful kingpin can fall.
The Godfather's reign might be coming to an end.
So last time we left Felix Gallardo, he was on the run.
Yeah. DEA on his tail?
After that horrific murder of Kiki Camarena, with all his power
All that influence.
and influence, you gotta wonder,
Could he really get away?
could he really escape the consequences?
I mean, he was good. But
he tried.
He tried.
He relocated his family to Guadalajara in 1987.
Guadalajara.
hoping to just lay low.
Lay low, wait for things to cool down.
While the heat died down.
What?
But the DEA...
Was relentless.
They're not gonna...
They were determined...
let it go.
...to bring Camarena's killers to justice.
No way.
They were not going to let Felix Gallardo just disappear.
He was their main target.
I mean, it's hard to imagine.
All that pressure.
The pressure he must have been under.
The world's biggest law enforcement agency.
The world's biggest law enforcement agency.
On one side, and then...
who knows how many enemies he had in the cartel world.
Who knows how many enemies.
They probably saw this as a chance to take him down.
Yeah.
To move up.
Yeah.
The walls were closing in.
The walls were closing in.
And on April 8th, 1989.
April 8th, 1989.
Those walls came crashing down.
Felix Gallardo was arrested.
They finally got him.
And here's what's interesting.
Okay.
He wasn't hiding out.
You think he'd be in some,
in some remote fortress?
Yes, secret compound.
Or secret compound. He was a guest at the Sinaloa governor's house?
What? The governor's house.
Talk about audacious.
Even while he's on the run.
He's staying with the governor.
He's staying with the governor.
The very symbol.
I mean, that's...
the system he's been manipulating.
That's the heart of the system.
For years.
He's right there in the lion's den.
Of course the governor denied any knowledge.
Oh, of course.
Of Felix Gallardo's activities.
Plausible deniability, right?
But this arrest was a huge blow.
I bet it was.
To the Mexican government.
It exposed everything.
Think about it. Police commanders...
arrested.
Officers deserted.
They knew.
The whole system.
They were all in on it.
Was in chaos.
Felix Gallardo's arrest, it pulled back the curtain.
Pulled back the curtain.
Showed how deep the corruption really ran.
This wasn't just a few bad apples.
Yeah.
It was systemic.
Systemic.
Reaching the highest levels of power.
Wow. So Felix Gallardo's behind bars.
Felix Gallardo's behind bars.
Awaiting trial.
Awaiting trial for Camarena's murder.
And a whole slew of other charges.
You might think that's the end of the story.
Right. You think that's it? He's done.
But even from prison...
no way.
Felix Gallardo...
he's still pulling the strings.
Wasn't done shaping the drug trade.
The Godfather.
He understood.
He's a smart guy.
That a single, centralized cartel...
all your eggs in one basket.
...was too vulnerable.
He saw the writing on the wall.
He saw the writing on the wall. He's like, if one person...
if one person has all the power...
holds all the power...
it's easy to target them.
It would be that much easier for law enforcement. The body dies.
So he came up with a plan.
What do you do?
A radical restructuring of the entire drug trade.
He's not just giving up. He's adapting.
He decides to divide the trade.
Divide it up.
Creating smaller, more independent cartels.
Right.
Each controlling specific territories.
On a franchise.
And routes.
Yeah.
Almost like he's,
applying corporate strategy.
Applying corporate strategy to the underworld.
Interesting. So, how'd this work?
He summons all the major players.
He's still got the power to do that from prison.
He's the Godfather.
Right.
To a meeting in Acapulco in 1989.
Acapulco?
Can you picture it?
Oh, yeah, I can see it now.
This clandestine gathering.
Secret meeting.
Of the most powerful drug lords in Mexico.
All in one place.
All gathered to hear Felix Gallardo's plan for the future of the trade.
I bet there was a lot of tension in that room. So what does this new structure look like?
How does he divide up the pie?
He assigns territories with almost surgical precision.
He's a strategist.
The Arellano Felix brothers.
Tough guys.
They get control of Tijuana, crucial border crossing point.
Oh, yeah. Tijuana's a major gateway to the U.S.
The Carrillo Fuentes family.
Carrillo Fuentes, another big name.
Takes over Ciudad Juarez, another key gateway.
Okay, so he's dividing up the border.
Miguel Caro Quintero. He's given the Sonora corridor. And perhaps most significantly.
Here we go. This is the one I've been waiting for.
The Pacific Coast operations go to Joaquin Guzman Loera,
El Chapo,
and Hector Luis Palma Salazar.
The Sinaloa Cartel.
Seeds of the Sinaloa Cartel.
They're planted right there. In that meeting.
In Acapulco.
Wow.
It's not just territories, though.
Okay.
Each cartel is given control over specific trafficking routes.
Okay, so he's trying to minimize conflict.
Ensure a steady flow of product.
Keep the money flowing.
Minimize conflict. At least that was the plan.
But I bet it didn't quite work out that way.
The unintended consequences.
There are always unintended consequences.
Of this division are truly profound.
What happened?
Felix Gallardo thought he was protecting the trade.
Protecting the trade, yeah.
By making it less centralized, less vulnerable.
Spread the risk.
But what he actually did
He created the conditions
was create the conditions
for the turf wars
for the brutal turf wars
that are still going on today.
that have plagued Mexico.
So much violence.
Ever since.
It's like he lit the fuse on a powder keg.
He lit the fuse, and it
just keeps exploding.
Keeps exploding to this day.
Wow. The best laid plans, right?
Best laid plans.
Sometimes they backfire in the worst way.
So, for Felix Gallardo himself...
All right, what about the Godfather?
The division of the cartel marked the beginning of his decline.
He lost control.
While he remained a powerful figure, even from prison, his control...
over the day-to-day operations...
is not the king anymore.
...was slipping away. By 1993...
1993.
He was in a high-security prison.
High security.
Largely cut off.
From the world he built.
From the world he built.
Wow.
His legal troubles...
oh, they're not done with him yet.
...continued to mount.
Yeah, he's got more coming.
He was convicted.
Convicted.
Of Kiki Camarena's murder.
That's the big one.
And given a 40-year sentence.
40 years.
Then in 2017...
2017.
They tack on another 37 years.
77 years.
Effectively ensuring...
he's never getting out.
He would spend the rest of his life behind bars.
Wow.
But as the years went by...
he's getting older.
Felix Gallardo's health deteriorated.
Prison's not a good place to get old.
He suffered from vertigo. Deafness, blood circulation problems.
It's taking its toll.
He even attempted to get house arrest, citing his declining health.
Makes sense. In 2014, he was transferred to a medium security prison.
Okay.
But that wasn't enough.
Not enough.
It wasn't until 2022.
2022.
After serving over 3 decades in prison.
3 decades.
That Felix Gallardo,
the Godfather,
was finally granted house arrest.
House arrest.
A controversial decision.
Yeah, given everything he's done.
Given the gravity of his crimes.
But he's a shadow of his former self.
He's a shadow of his former self.
He's not the kingpin he used to be.
Even as he sits in his home.
His legacy lives on.
Felix Gallardo's legacy looms large.
It does.
The story is far from over.
Oh, there's more.
In the next part of our deep dive.
Can't wait.
We'll explore that legacy.
His legacy.
Examining what Felix Gallardo's rise and fall.
His rise and fall.
Tells us about the evolution of the drug trade.
How it's changed.
Its devastating impact on Mexico.
Yeah.
And the challenges we face in confronting this complex problem.
It's a problem that's not going away.
We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
Oh yeah, we have.
Felix Gallardo's rise.
From those early days.
Seemingly ordinary background.
Right. Didn't seem like a future kingpin at all.
To become the head of the Guadalajara Cartel.
The God.
His ruthless tactics.
He was ruthless.
His connections to powerful figures.
Oh yeah, all the way to the top.
And ultimately
his downfall.
But his story, it isn't just about one man, is it?
No, it's bigger than that.
Felix Gallardo's
it's about a whole system.
Journey is it's a fascinating window into the evolution of the drug trade itself.
Right.
Before him, things were more...
it was more like
localized, more fragmented.
Yeah.
He saw the potential.
Saw the big picture.
For a structured hierarchical system.
Right.
And had the audacity.
And the guts.
And the ruthlessness to build it.
He wasn't afraid of anything.
He brought together all these disparate groups.
Forged alliances.
Brought
them all under one banner.
And essentially creating the blueprint for the modern Mexican drug cartel.
The Godfather.
But then...
there's always a twist.
He does something truly unexpected.
Yeah, what's that?
He breaks it all apart.
He breaks it all apart.
Why would he do that?
Why would he do that?
He saw the U.S. crackdown coming.
Okay, the DEA's on the move.
And he believed that a decentralized network would be harder to target.
Right, spread the risk.
If one cartel fell...
the others keep going.
The others could continue operating.
Smart, in theory.
It's almost like he was applying this logic of diversification.
Business 101.
To the criminal world.
Interesting.
But, as we've seen...
it didn't work.
This decision backfired spectacularly.
Oh, it backfired big time.
Instead of protecting the trade...
he made it worse.
It fueled the intense competition.
Violence. Cartels fighting each other.
That continues to plague Mexico today. These newly formed cartels.
Yeah.
Each vying for control.
Got to be on top.
Turned on each other, and the results have been a devastating.
So Felix Gallardo, he tries to save the trade.
He thinks he's saving it.
But he ends up
making
it more violent.
Fueling this more
Like a
chaotic.
bloody power struggle.
It's a mess.
That follow-up.
It's a reminder, you know,
It really is.
that actions have consequences.
Actions have consequences.
And sometimes those consequences,
Sometimes those consequences
they're the opposite of what you wanted.
are the opposite of what we intended.
Wow. So what can we learn?
What can we learn
from all of this?
from Felix Gallardo's story?
Yeah.
What are the key takeaways here?
Well, I think the big one, the most important lesson is the drug trade. It's complicated.
It's complex.
It's driven by poverty.
Yeah.
Corruption, demand, the allure of easy money.
It's not just a law enforcement problem.
No, it's a societal problem.
You can't just arrest your way out of this.
Arrest your way out of this.
And Felix Gallardo's story,
it really shows that.
Shows how trying to fix it with just the DEA,
just law enforcement,
well, it doesn't work.
Often has
unintended consequences.
Unintended consequences.
We need a new approach.
What would that even look like?
Well, we got to get to the root of the problem.
The root causes.
Right.
The socioeconomic conditions
invest in communities
that make the drug trade so appealing in the first place.
Create opportunities, break the cycle of poverty.
And then there's the corruption.
Oh yeah, the corruption. That's a good one.
That allows these cartels
to thrive. Felix Gallardo, he wouldn't have been able to do any of this without the help of
without the help corrupt officials, law enforcement,
even the military.
He knew that power wasn't just about brute force. It was about who you knew.
Connection.
He played the system.
And the system played right along with him.
And without addressing the systemic corruption, any attempt to
dismantle the cartel
is going to fail. It's a losing battle.
It's like cutting off the head of a hydra.
Yeah.
2 more growbacks.
So where do we go from here? What can we do
to prevent another Felix Gallardo?
To prevent another Felix Gallardo from rising to power?
That's the $1 million question, isn't it?
It really is.
It's not easy. There's no easy answers here.
No.
It's gonna take a long-term commitment to getting to those root causes.
Addressing those root causes.
Social programs. Economic development. And we got to root out the corruption.
At every level.
It's
a daunting task.
It is. But
is it even possible?
I think so. I think so. We have to believe it is, right?
We have to.
Felix Gallardo's story, it's a warning.
A cautionary tale.
Yeah. It shows us what happens when corruption and greed take over.
But it also reminds us
that we have a choice.
You
can do better.
It's a choice between continuing this cycle of violence or building a future.
Where stories like Felix Gallardo's are just stories.
The relics of a bygone era.
What do you think, listener? What path are we going to choose?
Food for thought as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of Miguel Ángel Félix Gallardo,
the Godfather.
We hope you found it insightful.
Yeah, and maybe a little bit unsettling.
But most of all, we hope it sparked some important questions.
Got you thinking.
And encouraged you to think critically about this complex issue.
It's a problem that affects us all.
We'll be back soon.
With another deep dive.
Into a fascinating topic.
Until then.
Keep learning.
Keep questioning.
Keep questioning.
And keep exploring the world around you.
Thanks for listening.